And we are on. This is Stay for Dialogues, and thank you very much for joining us. It's a brand new week. It's a Friday show. This is what we do every week to try and bring you up to date with what is happening around the country. There's so much to talk about tonight. Already there's a Raila presidency being touted by the likes of David Murathe and Francis Atwoli. There's also the deputy president saying, I don't fear the system and the deep state. I will still make president. There's still the issue of the exodus we are seeing in the ANC party led by Musalia Mudavadi. And of course, there's a new sheriff in town in Nairobi County after the designation of Beatrice Elachi as speaker. Now we have Benson Mutura as a speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi. There's just so much to speak about. My name is John Jacob Kuria. A warm welcome to the program. Let me introduce the panel so we begin very quickly. As usual, Kamau Wakamau from Kangema, Muranga. Yes, I have Jimmy Kagoni, who is also with us, and Maina Kamunya, who is also with us. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. I want us to dive right in because we don't have a lot of time. But we'll begin with the Raila ID. I think I should begin from the far right with you, Maina Kamunya. This Raila presidency that has been touted by the likes of Murathe and Francis Atwoli. In fact, to go by the words of David Murathe, prepare for a Raila presidency. Is it even possible?
Thank you very much. And let me start by saying that Murathe and Atwoli, they are within their constitutional rights to express their opinion and accept one. But let's be realistic a little bit.
Okay.
It's possible for him to be president. He have tried federally. Maybe it's time for him, but I don't think, especially from Mount Kenya region, that he's gonna reap the benefit of hardship. I still doubt how much he is in the crowd compared to other candidates. Maybe we can put in the votes factor. Maybe he can do something to make sure that he gets the vote that he needs. But let me end by saying this. Raila can make a good president.
Okay.
He have tried. We know him very well. We know the potential he have. But let's concentrate a little bit on what Murathe said. He said that we are looking for a Madeira solution that happens in South Africa.
Transitional.
A transitional president. And the question should be, can Raila really be a transitional president? And I think yes, he can. Because if you look at his age, where he is, I think he's sober now. He understands the
He wasn't sober before. He's sober now.
He has matured politically more than he was maybe 2017, 2013, 2007.
Okay.
So I think he's still more mature than any politician in Kenya.
Okay.
So then, age factor can contribute to the soberness.
All right.
And maybe he have a better focus, a better understanding of the nation, especially where we are now, that we are fighting corruption, we are trying to unite the country. You know, it's his agenda to bring the country together from different perspectives. He has tried to channel development here and there. You just understand that the BBI, the revolution was still his ideas.
Yes.
So I think it's time, we can appreciate him, but I think he must be prepared to face Dr. William Samuel.
That is his ultimate challenge. Yeah. Jimmy Kagoni, there are other people who are angling for to benefit from the handshake, other than, Raila Odinga. You have Kalonzo Musyoka running to sign an agreement with Jubilee. You have Gideon Moi still in the same house, trying to seek an agreement with President Uhuru Kenyatta so that they can reap from this union. Then Murathe throws, a spanner into the works and says, prepare for a Raila presidency. Is that a threat to the union in Jubilee in terms of the new friends that the president has gone looking for?
Well, I found that to be a little bit careless coming from Murathe, so to speak.
Okay.
By the virtue that you check the entire BBI caravan, you realize that it's carrying other candidates who are also hoping that they could be the people who are sitting in there. And therefore, when you tout Raila at this moment, then what you're actually doing is that you are calling for Kalonzo, you are calling for people like Gideon Moi to start reflecting and wondering whether they really have a chance. And in fact, when you say so, the stature of Murathe when he speaks, then most of the people actually take it like that could be the president word. So therefore, if Ruto starts now quoting Kalonzo, then you realize that you'll find Kalonzo won't to listen to anybody because of that. To me, I found that to be a little bit loose coming from Murathe himself. And maybe Murathe, it's time he realizes that his teacher says something. However, in terms of whether there is a possibility of Raila presidency, yes, there is a possibility of Raila presidency.
Okay.
In fact, the two candidates who are very prominent for the 2022 presidential election is him and Dr. William Ruto. And I want to agree with what Maina has said. With the new dynamics of maybe, and the word is maybe, he might enjoy some support from President Uhuru Kenyatta. Therefore, there is a chance for him coming in. Remember, this is one guy who has always cornered Ruto and Uhuru when they are in the same camp. So what would happen when one of these guys is actually joining his camp? But again, we cannot ignore the dynamics that could be there, because when he is able to push Ruto and Uhuru, you must not forget that at that time Kalonzo is also on board.
Okay.
And Kalonzo has always brought 2 million votes solidly, both in 2013 and 2017 respectively.
Okay.
So perhaps if Uhuru was to come on board, I'm not sure whether Kalonzo will still have a similar opportunity like the one he has had in the previous elections, 2017 and 2013, to enjoy. But there is a possibility of a Raila presidency.
Okay.
There is a possibility of a Raila presidency. The dynamics that are there, in fact, if you ask me, he's more closer than ever
to the presidency. Kamau, the last time we were here, last Friday, you were talking about Atwoli and what he says, really being what we should follow. And instructively, the following week, he says, you know what, Raila Odinga is going to become president. You're still holding on the same thought?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And again, I would say thank you so much for having us here again.
Yes.
And I'll just go by what we said. And I pointed out and I said, if you want to know the political pointer of this country, listen to what Francis Atwoli is saying. And when we were here, the last time we were here, it just took a day, and Murathe said we are in for Raila's presidency. To me, it's the right time for him.
Yes.
And maybe everything in this world has its own time. When Raila ran for presidency in 1997, if I guess right, and today even 2013?
Yes.
2007, 2013, and 2017, he has never lost a single vote. His trend
Yes.
has always a curve going up.
What do you mean by losing vote?
He would always add.
Oh, his support is still intact.
His supporters are still intact.
Okay.
And I think when and I would go with what Wanakamnya said, this is transitional. By that I mean, this country has lost a lot of much of history of what has been happening there, and we are here on shallow ends. And there are a lot that has happened to this country since the independence. Whichever way it comes in, Raila will be in a position to bridge between past and what is going to go forward. And that is what Murathe said, is a transitional thing. So I think we, especially where I sit or where I come from, it is also good to embrace other people and have divergency of even other leadership, so that we can also relax and have our time to watch.
There are those who, and this has been peddled so much by the people who support the deputy president, that even the handshake, this was the primary purpose, to elevate Raila Odinga to the presidency. It was really nothing about unity of the country.
Maybe before I answer that question,
yes,
let's just go back a little bit and ask ourselves, can Raila really make a transitional president? Can we judge him from the history we know about him? When I was growing up, I knew Raila as the worst man in the country. He was branded the worst man, the enemy of a certain religion.
Yes.
And people feared continually that if these guys become the president, then he's going to rebel. Right? And maybe I may be wrong or I'm right.
Yes.
If we judge Raila from the past, his political history,
yes,
some would still question the viability of him being a transitional president.
Okay.
At what time in his political life have we surrendered his ambitions for the sake of our country? Have we ever at one point? No.
He hasn't?
He hasn't.
Okay.
All we know is about violence. All we know is about chaos.
There are those who would argue the people's president ceded ground to meet President Uhuru Kenyatta for the sake of the country.
No.
Uh-huh.
If you reflect at maybe the leaders of the Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta,
Okay.
even before his term ends, you'll be able to trace some loyalty to the country. In 2002, he was defeated and agreed, yes, I'm defeated.
Right.
Okay, the country moved on. Come to around just 2 years ago, on March,
Yes.
he did a hardship for the sake of the country, right? But go back to the history of Raila, 2007, he was on the ballot together with Kibaki. They lost the country of almost bad. Go to 2013, at least there was no much violence by then. Come 2017, what happened? You see, all those things, although we are calling him a transitional president, history will not judge him as per what Morales is saying.
Yes.
I doubt it could be a Mandela.
Okay.
Because Mandela sacrificed for the sake of the country. It was his own voluntary decision.
And according to you, you don't think Raila Odinga has made enough sacrifices for the country?
Not yet.
Even championing for multi-party democracy?
Not yet.
Okay, answer my question because I'm sure the rest of the world to respond to you. But before we do that, there's a question I asked you about those who strongly feel that the intention of the handshake really was to elevate Raila Odinga to the presidency, and we're rather confirming that.
It will be.
Okay.
Because if this is the result we are getting from the handshake, then tell us from the beginning, this was an oriented procedure or program, knowing that at the end of it, the objective was to make sure that Raila is more closer to power. As Mo was saying, he is more closer to power now than ever. If he misses this opportunity to become the president, then it's done.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So he knew and he still knows that if BPI goes through, if there is a referendum as he was saying, if he's able to go through to that referendum, then he'll have a very big chance than anybody else.
Okay.
to become the president.
Okay. Jimmy Kagoni, there are those who think that Raila's legacy will be defined by this 5 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta from the year 2017 moving towards 2022. And there are those who think this is just an expedient leader who will say the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta is corrupt, but then once they're in friendship, he will support everything, will not point out the wrongs in the government. And there are those who think maybe he doesn't stand a chance because how will he be able to disown the ills of this administration once they have started being counted?
Thank you, JJ. Let me first correct my young brother, Maina.
Yes.
I know he might have been in school when some of these things
What a shade, eh?
know that. I'm not sure whether currently there is a living leader who has sacrificed for this country. Raila has actually sacrificed for
Yes.
this country. Maybe Maina might not be aware about that. Actually, we are talking about the second reparation readers. There is no way you would miss to write the name of Raila Odinga.
Okay.
And may I remind the viewers and maybe the likes of mine who might not be aware that Raila at one point actually voluntarily resigned from parliament.
Yes.
Because he could not agree with the ideologies of the party then to go and be re-elected on a new party.
Yes.
And in fact, this is one thing that we have challenged the current leaders.
Okay.
That in case that you do not agree with the ideologies of your party, can you be bold enough, can you be courageous enough to actually write to your party and say that you want to go and seek fresh mandate using a new party that agrees with your ideologies? Raila did that. May I also remind mine and the viewers who might be holding that view that in 2002, actually Raila was perceived to be an enemy from the LDP because he came and he said,
Kibaki Tosha.
Kibaki Tosha. He also had a chance, but he said, the guy, if we are really going to defeat Kanu, and if we are really going to chase Kanu out of government, then we need to be very much united. People like, I remember by then, people like Nyachaya were very uncomfortable with that. In fact, they insisted that they are still going to run on their own. So he came and he declared Kibaki Tosha. In the year 2007, the one that Maina is actually talking about, ODM by then, everybody was there, even Kalonzo had not left. ODM, the Orange Party,
Including Ruto.
including Ruto and everybody, they went for a delegate election to nominate who they wanted to be their flag bearer in that particular election. And Raila was able to beat all of them. And that's how they formed the Pentagon. Now, coming all the way, so the sacrifices of Raila and what he has been able to do. And by the virtue that currently, one of the oldest parties that we have in Kenya is the party that he leads, the party of ODM. It was formed in the year 2005. I understand I might have been in primary school, thereabout. All the way up to where we are now. Those are like 18 years, close to that. So you cannot really ignore Raila, so to speak.
All right, and I want you to connect with the question that I've asked you. These sacrifices that you've actually counted. What is the risk of them being dented by the union he has right now with the Jubilee administration?
Yes, I actually want now to put a but.
Okay.
So while we are actually hailing him as a great leader who has been able to do so much for this country, Kenya, I want to say something, and it's important even for the leaders to actually understand this, that you can earn a legacy without necessarily occupying the highest office, so to speak.
Okay.
I mean, we speak of Matiba in this country. We speak of Charles Rubia in this country. We speak of Tom Mboya in this country. We speak of J.M. Kariuki in this country. These are heroes who their history will always be related, okay? Because of how dynamic they were and the contribution they made during their times. You don't have to assent that. Personally, by the way, and this is just my personal view, I'm not sure whether Raila has anything new to offer to the country at this particular point.
Okay.
And when we are talking of Mandela moment, what happened to Mandela is that he voluntarily and said, I don't think I'm useful anymore to the government. My work was to try and assist that the country is able to depart from apartheid, which we are now of the apartheid. So therefore, we can have our country and those guys who are able to run the government can be able to pick it from here. So I don't really think, in fact, this is the week that we were celebrating the International Youth Day, actually on Wednesday.
Yes.
Actually, it is yesterday.
Yes.
No, the day before yesterday. I would be looking to see young, fresh, innovative minds who are coming up, who are saying that we have a solution for this country.
Okay.
We can be able to fix the economy of this country. We can be able to do ABCD for this country. Let's not really hang to the past, so to speak. I mean, Raila has done his bit, so to speak, and we will always celebrate him. And we can be innovative enough to see how to celebrate his work, his works and what he has been able to achieve. However, and that's the word, however, because, and I want to end with this, however, we need new mind. We need fresh blood that is going to come. Raila has been in government, I think, for more than, he has actually been an MP for 20 years.
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta has been an MP for 15 years, and now he is serving 10 years
Yes.
as president. William Ruto, by 2022, will have served 25 years.
Yes.
Okay? I mean, who say that we don't have new minds that can come up? I mean, we are still here. Maida is running. He can be something. Kamau is here. The other people are there. We can have new mind that is going to do something.
All
so
right.
my point is, and just in response to your question, is that let's not really be so fixated and myopic that it can only be Raila, or it can only be Ruto, or it can be... there could be new people who can govern this country objectively.
Right. Okay, the new people will ask where are these new people, because we're just seeing the usual voices and the ones that are speaking. But Kamau, I heard you being a strong advocate of Raila Odinga being a transitional president. What are we transiting to? What problems do we have right now that Raila Odinga would solve so that we can say this is transition from one era to another?
Transition, it's a pass on to the next. I will pick what Maina and Kagoni has pointed out, and I would give just a brief history of this country in one sentence.
Okay.
Prior to independence, the father of Raila, Jaramogi, the British intelligence wanted him to pick up and forget about Kenyatta, but he said, wacha mzee atoke huko ndiye atakuja kutuongoza. And they fall out at some point, but Kenyatta, being who he was, he liked Jaramogi, but there was those political differences, and he said, "You're just my in-law, and you're my friend. It's only that I cannot go that far, but we have to separate." Next to that was Kibaki and Mboya. Those two were put. If this country got Mboya and Kibaki, probably we could be like whatever they say, the Asian Tigers, because they were Tom Mboya is the one who came up, put the constitution together, planned the airlift of the 1960s,
Yes.
a debt we've never paid.
Okay.
So in terms of goodwill, and the way I look at it, and in 1992, when Matiba, Rubia, that Kagoni is talking about, when they were put in committee,
Yes.
it is Raila and his father who sacrificed to not to be seen like it's a tribal war between Kalenjin and Kikuyus. They sacrificed their lives with the likes of the young Turks of Kina
Orengo
and the rest, Kina Imanyara, so that Matiba's life could be saved, because the Moi's battalions were out to finish Matiba's and Rubia's, and entirely probably Kikuyu community.
Enough of history.
Yes.
What are we transiting to?
In 2002, it is Raila who made Kibaki president. Okay.
Well,
So to that, this country,
the jury is out there.
Okay, that's where I'm coming. This country has a history,
Okay.
which in administrative, when we talk about young minds, the likes of the Railas and the age, who are good grounded in administration, might not want to work with Akina Kagoni in the same office or even in consultancy. So we need to have this country from the formation on when it got independent until today.
Okay.
So that transition of 5 years, that is what is going to give Akina Maina, Kagoni, myself a good ground to put on it.
You're saying the president of the Republic of Kenya,
Yes.
who is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta,
Yes.
younger than Raila Odinga,
Yes.
has failed to do these things. So the person who will do them is Raila Odinga.
What I'm saying, just a minute, Maina.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is,
Yes.
we appreciate Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
In many ways, we have roads, rails, coffee and tea is being worked on. We have development, and you can see them with your eyes. But every other person is given a task that cannot be given to the other person.
Okay.
You understand? What Kibaki managed to do is not what President Moi did. It's not what Jomo Kenyatta
Let me
did.
ask a quick one.
Yes.
If the president is really into this plan of elevating Raila Odinga into the presidency in 2022 for transition or transitional purposes, as you're saying, you're simply saying that the president is very much aware of what needs to be done, but with these remaining 2 years that are remaining, he will not do them because he wants Raila Odinga to come and do them.
Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, has not mentioned, not a single day, that they've actually, Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta, they always say, we are not talking about 2022.
Okay.
Because by the time we're getting to 2022, we will still have a lot of work done.
All right.
You understand?
All right.
So whoever will be the candidates will have my choice, because you've asked, is Raila Odinga's presidency attainable? I would say yes, and I would vote him because I believe in what I'm saying, that he can beat all of them in numbers and in intelligence and.
Let me hear your views, Maina, because and you've been mentioned severally by Kagoni. But before you even respond to that, because there are those who feel that saying that Raila Odinga would be a transitional president after President Uhuru Kenyatta is actually an insult on the legacy of the president 2 years towards an election.
Listen to Kamau is very interesting.
Yes.
He's very rich in history, but he's unable to convert the importance of that history to realistic. You the point?
Okay.
Because we need to understand, yes, it has been good history. He has told us about Tom Mboya. How old was Tom Mboya? He died at the age of 38. But look at the history we read about him. How much he had achieved by the time he was 38.
Okay.
So it tells you what Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the president, would be doing now is to ensure that he mentors other young readers so that they're able to carry on with his legacy. He's trying to fight corruption. How many of those who are eyeing for the presidency can be able to stand bold enough and fight corruption? Maybe none. How many of those who are eyeing for the presidency are able to have that love or loyalty to the country that despite whatever happens, you can sacrifice your ambitions for the sake of the nation. There's something I have learned from Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, that he loves this country. He only knows that fighting cannot solve a political problem.
Okay.
You need peace, right? He did it in 2002 and during the handshake. So, saying that Raila Amolo Odinga will be the transitional president, it means then we are waiting for Uhuru Muigai to face the term for 2 years. Then Raila Amolo Odinga comes in as a president, which I doubt it will be, and become Mandela's of our current generation. No. We are insulting ourselves. We are insulting the president.
Okay.
Let's allow the president finish the term. Let him fight corruption. Let him unite the country. When that time comes, then we can examine all those who are in for president.
All right.
Do they have the qualities to carry on the legacy of the president? Will they be able to make sure that the big four agendas are achieved? Yes. Will they be able to ensure that peace prevails?
By saying whether the big four agendas will be achieved, you're simply saying the president cannot achieve the big four agenda within these 2 years.
He may not achieve all of them before going to 2 years.
Okay.
So we need somebody who will be able to come and carry on the agenda for the benefit of Kenyans.
All right. All right. I need us to dust off on this matter of Raila Odinga very, very quickly. When you listen to Murathe is pointing us towards a conversation that we've had for the last 3 years about debts. And Kamau happened to mention about it a little bit, about the sacrifices Mzee Adonija Jaramogi Odinga made for the sake of this country's independence and having Kenyatta get out of jail. Do you think that the year 2022 is a year of repaying historical debts?
You see, JJ, we must be able to separate wheat from chaff. And what I mean is we must try and interrogate every statement that is made by some of these people to see exactly where they're coming from. Because for me, such statements, to them, they are looking for a safer personality who can occupy the state office.
Yes.
Or the presidency. To them, that's what they are looking for. Now, it is even an irony when you mention transition when you're actually talking about having a safer person. Because for Murathe, for Atori, and for others, what they are really looking for is for a safer person. Somebody they feel that they'll be comfortable with to work with and maybe continue to enjoy some of the privileges they have had. They might be having a point in terms of being threatened and feeling a bit insecure when it comes to dealing with William Ruto. And maybe that is something the camp of William Ruto need actually to ask themselves, why are these wazee so uncomfortable with you?
Okay.
Maybe that is a question that the camp needs to talk about. But my point is, when we talk about transition, what exactly do we really need to transition to? And what is the state are we in that we actually need to focus our transition on that? What I mean is that, as it is, the same issues we were struggling with in 1963 when we got our independence, they are the same issues that we are struggling with even now.
Okay.
By then, the Kenyatta government was here to fight three things. It wanted to fight hunger, it wanted to fight poverty
and ignorance.
And it also wanted to fight ignorance. If you look at those things, you realize they are the same things that we are struggling with. There is a lot of unemployment in this Kenya. So therefore, the poverty levels are also quite high.
Okay.
If you talk about hunger, I mean, if guys are not able to support themselves, I was seeing the statistics and you'll be shocked to realize how many people in Kenya who live below the dollar per day in this country. I mean, the ignorance could be different because now it's a matter of just acquiring theories, but with no practicals that you can be able to employ in the job market today. So you have quite a number of graduates, but these are graduates who are unemployable because when you trust them with a job, then you realize they are not able to deal with a job, and
that's half-baked.
Is half-baked, so quite such a challenge. So anybody who want to speak to me about transition, I would want to hear transition around there.
All right.
On the grounds of how do you really transition the young people in this country from unemployment to employment, from employment to self-employment? How do you transition the graduates of this country from just graduates who hold theories calling themselves become holders, economists, and what have you, yet they cannot write to you a thesis that you can use tomorrow to know how we deal. How we deal with the economic times we are in.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. I am not interested with somebody who can be able to cram a whole book of S.W. Hucha that was written, I don't know when, which is an economic book and all that. I mean, you want somebody who can actually write to you some economic principles that we can employ today. If we are talking about issues to do with hunger, how do we feed ourselves? I mean, we are still relying on seasons of rain to actually do plantations. Look at even the subsistence farming that we are still carrying on as a country. If we are talking about transition, those are the things maybe that we need to interrogate. And what I'm trying to say is this: maybe we need a modern thinking, not an old thinking. We need a modern thinking. In fact, I'm not sure whether there is anybody who has come out clearly who can convince me that so far this is actually the guy who can be able to transit us to where we are going.
All right.
But let me just say this just to conclude. The philosopher Albert Einstein said something very, very important. And I want to caution the young people because God willing, we'll be here longer than anybody else. Albert Einstein said something very important, that you cannot solve a problem thinking the same way you are thinking when you created the problem. If you look at the candidates we have, from the Lairas, the Rutos, the whoever, and all that, the problem we are suffering of this country, the hard economic times that we are suffering, we are going through, all of them were in government. All of them were in government. All of them were in government. So if these are the same people we want to use to get out of the race, then we have a problem.
Definitely. Absolutely. Before we go, because I want us to shift completely from the Raila Odinga subject. Like Kagoni says, it's new wine in new wine skins. Like he proposes. Very quickly, I want us to get into this deep state system thing by the deputy president. I don't fear the system. I don't fear the deep state. I have God and I have a people. What do you think the deputy president was directing these jibes at? Because there's a camp that really feels this is the deputy president daring his boss.
Thank you, JJ. Just to talk about deep state and the system that Ruto is talking about, or any other party, when you're called in to answer questions by the government, you start saying they are following me to do with KBZ and stuff like that. I would want to join what Kagoni has said, which is very important. This country is at the formation age. We are just only 50 how many years? And 57. We've not taken off. For 50, at 50 years, we are still a young nation. And the things that you want to take off.
What would you say about South Africa?
Let me say it. Actually, South Africa, every other time there is this push and the other from the other side. So what we need is a good foundation. And this foundation has been, there is a reason why we only have 4 presidents from the day of Jomo Kenyatta till the day of Uhuru Kenyatta. And now we are going to another president. So we need to have a foundation that is concrete, that this nation will never shake again. And one of them is the tribalism.
Okay.
The tribal action, every other time there is this and that. Now, to the deep state and system, William Ruto seems to I can say he's crying wolf. By that I mean, William Ruto has been given a chance to show himself a man for close to 30 years, since 1990 till today, by the same men, and show himself as a guy who can be invited to the table. Instead of joining these people, negotiating with them, and let him be known by them, he has taken to put in himself. So those men, because they are friends, all of them.
But he's already on the table.
Exactly. They've been with him, but he has not proved himself to be a man who can be trusted by them. Because you remember, we are talking about politics. Politics.
You're getting into the risk of ambiguity. Who is them?
Them is who have interest over this country larger than the one I have or the one you have. Because you see it, as much as we try to run saying, me, I'll vote, and you have to ask
Are there
yourself.
such people? I would want to know them.
They are.
It confirms this deep state.
They are. I would say, you know, I would say they are
bigger
system.
interest.
To me, I'll say
You believe there's deep state?
they are not. I don't know about deep state because the things
But
of the
there's system.
state, the things of the state, I cannot talk because I don't know. But there is a system, and what I'm saying
Who
is
heads
this.
the system?
Wait a minute. William Ruto. William Ruto. William Ruto. William Ruto
Yes.
can make his own history, system
Yes.
that can work for him, for his son, for his grandchildren, to whatever. He has been invited in this system to work with these people and be part of them, who have interest, who have invested. As someone who has invested 10, 20 billion in this country. Wait a minute. 20 billion.
I'm coming to. I would want to hear your truth. Yes.
20 billion
Yes.
would want to have a state which is peaceful, an economic status that will improve because of what he has invested. So if William Ruto is a man, as he says he is, he need to have negotiated with these people, let these people know him, to trust him enough with what they have. Because where we are, even where we are seated, it is someone.
And these are the same people he's saying he's not afraid of.
He has not been good friend to them, so he will be dashed out.
All right.
So you're confirming they are deep state.
He's
I
saying
don't know
this,
about
he
states.
doesn't know about
I don't
the
know
deep
about
state.
the-
He
I
says
know
the system.
Where I am in life and the people I'm talking to, I want to create my system that can work for
All
me.
right. This is a conversation that we've had for the longest time because Kalonzo Musyoka the other day confirmed that indeed it's very difficult to become president in this country without the deep state. But who exactly? Because these are faceless people. But we know the president sits at the apex of power as the most powerful man in the country. Was this the deputy president daring his boss?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
He's just telling us the truth.
All right.
Because one thing you have to understand, being a presidential campaign, it's expensive, right? And I remember either last week, but when I was reading the papers, of guys who fund the campaigns, political campaigns, but they're never interested. So these guys come in, they invest their money with you, knowing that you safeguard their interests. That's one. I also remember that this attempt that Dr. William Samoei Ruto confessed that when they rose in 2002, when Moi was leaving the State House, what they did before they made that pronouncement that before they accepted the result that they had been defeated, they first went to the State House with Uhuru, the president, and they asked President Moi, what do they say? And he told them,
there's nothing you can do.
Yes. And he told them, Moi told them, just accept the results. You see? So it means Moi had an influence to the result. If they said no, maybe Moi would have said overstayed in the seat, right? So let us not ignore that the fact that there is a system. That's one. Because who guides the president on matters of national interest? The intelligence, right? You have the police. You have the machinery of the country.
Is that the system now?
That's the system.
Okay.
But the deep state, these are guys who invest in your political campaign, right? They make sure that they invest their interest in you. So that by the time you're coming into power, and Ruto knows that very well.
Yes.
That's why you see everyone, especially as Kagon was saying here, these old guys, the rich guys, why are they afraid of William Samoei Ruto? Why are they afraid of him? Maybe they know if these guys come into power, he may not be able to safeguard our interest.
If they're afraid of him,
Just a minute, come out. Just a minute.
they could be talking, but they're not
Just a
talking.
minute.
They are
Just a
leaving him
minute.
to.
Do they talk?
They don't talk.
They don't.
Okay.
They don't. But you can't rule out their influence when it comes to the running of the government. So Dr. Samoei Ruto being government for those 25 years, he knows their influence, their power, and what they can do.
If he knows, he could have mentioned one by one.
What he has done, what Maina has told us, simply is telling us there's a KKK. There's a KKK in Kenya. But Jimmy Kagoni, I want to give you two questions. Number one is, there are those who argue, if you're talking about the system, like Maina has explained to us, the deputy president is part of a system. And you're the one who's advocating for a new generational leadership. But there are those that again that feel, with the remarks of a deputy president, clearly even the three presidents we have had in this republic, but really not because of our votes. It's the deep state that decided who sits on the seat.
And Kagon should not take us to the book.
Well, let me say this.
Yes.
Perhaps what we are calling deep state is not deep state.
Okay.
Perhaps there is a real deep state.
Okay.
And perhaps what we are referring as system might not really be the system. maybe there is a real system. But may I say this, and this is in context of what the Deputy President was trying to say.
Yes.
And basically, I think what he was trying to say is to encourage his supporters and tell them that don't worry that they are telling us they have other mechanisms on how they make people to become president. As far as you have numbers and you have God, in one way or the other, we will get there, so to speak. The system, what we are referring as system, is basically the operations of government and the people who head there. And in one way or the other, they can be a barrier, so to speak. But that doesn't mean that they are that powerful as we refer to them. In fact, I just want to remind our viewers that in 2013, the people referred as system and deep state and what have you had told Uhuru Kenyatta, you cannot be a president in this country. Why? Because you are a Kikuyu and we are actually departing from a Kikuyu president, so therefore it's very difficult for you to do so.
And you have an ICC tag on your head.
You have an ICC baggage with you, and therefore if you get into this office when you have this baggage with you, definitely you are going to throw this country in a very precarious situation. The truth of the matter is that they eventually became and nothing happened.
But
So,
he
there
went
has
back.
been-
He went back. He went
Hold on a
back.
minute. Let him prosecute his point.
Let me
Then
finish.
Exactly.
you will
Let me
interject.
finish
Okay.
up. Let me finish up. I know why their emotions are up. Because they are part of the people who have been hoodwinked.
No.
to
Into the
think-
system, deep state
into the
thing.
system thinking, into
Okay.
the system thinking. You know, let me tell you, when we were growing up, we grew up with the perception that the chief that was so powerful that the chief would actually inherit your wife anytime, even when you arrive, which was just a perception. And that's what I'm trying to erase from their
Was
mind.
it really a perception then?
Well, it was just a perception. Let me tell you.
The guys came collecting
Let me
chicken.
let me tell you, JJ.
Yes.
For those who believed so, their wives were inherited out of that. But that was not even supposed to be the point.
Kagoni.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Kagoni.
And
Just a minute.
May I say the following? May I say the following?
Say the
Yes.
following. Say the following very quickly.
May I
Because
say-
we said you don't go
May I
to.
Hold on a
say-
minute.
May I say the following so that the perception of the deep state system, what have you, and all that, I'm trying to assist them to erase all that. There is a lot of chaff that has been instilled into these people, which they didn't need to depart from. That's what I'm trying to assist Maina. Because he is growing a generation when we are mentioning some of this deep state system and all that. And I don't want him to be so hoodwinked until he names his
Let me
part-
get something from
until
you.
he
Kagoni.
names
Let me get
his-
something from you.
Yes.
Because I'm starting to get confused again with your argument. Are you confirming this deep state and system that it's not powerful enough to influence an election? Or are you saying that the deep state system is just a mirage and non-existent? And you're saying then the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who's been in government for the last 8 years, is just lying to Kenyans. This deep state
What
and
I am
system.
trying to say, and you answered correctly,
Yes.
is that what we refer as deep state and system is not as powerful.
Okay, but it exists.
It's not as powerful.
Now,
And number two,
Kagoni,
and number two,
Kagoni,
and
you're
number two,
contradicting
and number two,
yourself.
And number two, it's not as powerful. And number two, it is not what we think it is. Because as per what I'm hearing from my colleagues here, it is like a monster that exists somewhere.
No, Kagoni, you're confusing.
And-
You're confusing.
Can I-
You've given
can
an
I say-
example.
can I say this? No,
Kagoni, no.
I'll give you an
Can I finish this? Can I finish?
Basically,
Can I finish this?
Kagoni,
I'll give
Can I
you the
finish
You,
this?
the following.
Can I finish
Okay,
this?
wind up your point very quickly.
Can I finish this?
Yes.
Can I finish this? And it hurts me.
Yes.
It hurt you. It will hurt you.
Don't get hurt.
To see young people who have been hoodwinked to really think there is a monster that is out there that is called
Deep state.
deep state and what have you.
Okay.
The chiefs, the provincial administration and all that, that is the system we are talking about.
Kagoni, let me remind you
Let me
something.
be out there.
Let me
Let's let this guy
let me say.
so like
So
he
please,
gives you-
please don't sleep peacefully knowing that there is no monster.
I like following. Kagoni is talking about. Can I say the following? Me, I'll say, I like followings. I like things when they are moving on to the right
What's your point?
direction. My point is this: if you want to know that power is temporary, ask William Ruto. 2 years ago, he was the most powerful man in this nation. Ask me how. He would call and say this and that, do it, and it could be done. Because he used to see this with this, whatever the thing is, and he would told, go ahead and do it. And he was so powerful. And he knew by 2022, I'll be the president. The moment they pulled that piece of paper from him,
They is who?
them, whoever they are, Now,
I want you to give me deep
wait a
state
minute.
system.
Wait a minute.
Who pulled
William
the rug?
Ruto now.
Yes.
Who are they?
Now, I don't want to say what.
No, who pulled the rug? Is
No.
it the deep state or the system?
William Ruto has been dining with these people. The other time he was telling us
Come
about.
on, if I let you go,
No,
having made.
You give me
No,
time.
hold on a minute.
You've given
I will give
Jimmy
you time,
Kagoni
and I will give you time to explain.
but
The problem
you
is
let me
you're giving me ambiguous statements.
It is not
When
true
they
the ambiguous
pulled
point.
that thing. I want to know who are they? Is it the
Okay.
deep state? Is
Can
it the
I
system?
can I prosecute my point?
Yes.
Can I?
Answer that question.
Can I?
First answer that question.
William Ruto is in the government.
Okay.
He is a deep state. He is a system because he has pulled all these things. All these strings you seeing, who to be employed where, who to be put there. That was William Ruto.
Okay.
Right? Okay. But when he was told, and the government was reorganized, he cannot even employ a police officer.
Okay.
His letter cannot pass to employ a police officer. That is what we're calling deep state and systems.
So
do you want to know
the system that he was part of?
Now,
that he was part of.
William Ruto would influence tenders and corruption in this country. Now he can't. William Ruto, we saw Akina Nduale, Akina Murkomen being put out from the committee. If he's powerful and he's telling his followers and whatever he thinks that he knows God than more than us, what we should do is to go to that office and point at Maina, Kagoni and tell them, you're the deep state, you're the system. He can't. Why? Is he afraid of them?
They are powerful.
I don't think so.
They are powerful.
But he should name one or two who he has made his friend.
No.
He doesn't have friends.
Can we hear from Kamau, who is actually deep state? I want to hear they.
I'll come to him with
Let me tell you.
protection. Let me-
Minor, just a minute, just a minute, just
I'm
a
running out
minute.
of time, Minor. Minor, let me hear. Let me hear.
Just a minute.
Yes.
And you're a good student of history, especially Kagoni here.
Yes.
Maybe you can remember, I was not there by then, but I've read in history.
Yes.
When Moi wanted to frustrate Kibaki, when he was the vice president,
Yes.
what did he do?
He demoted him.
He did.
No,
He
just a
did.
minute.
He demoted him to the Minister of Health.
Just a minute.
It had to take an
He
election.
made sure
Yes.
that Moi, that Kibaki does not go to any Harambe outside Central Kenya.
Yes.
That's the first thing he did.
Yes.
So, barring Kibaki from going outside Central Kenya,
Yes.
he made him look like a tribal leader.
Yes.
Is the same being done to William Samoei Ruto?
No.
Exactly yes. No, just a minute. Exactly yes. Right?
Yes.
So these guys.
How is that happening? When
Who
you
are
sing
these
him-
people?
Wait a minute. How is that happening when you sing him in Western, Central,
Central and whatever.
other places?
But Ruto has actually been more into central than anywhere else.
I don't need to make up my mind.
Okay.
Yeah? What I'm saying is this, by then, Kibaki was barred from moving outside Central
Yes.
Kenya. But the situation of William Samoei Ruto is that he have no power. He have a big office with no power.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes.
Right? So we are saying this, these guys have power. They are powerful. Aburo Nika confessed that they have tried those many times.
Who are these people?
Just a minute. He confessed that they have tried severally with the president, but they didn't have the system, right? So he knew that there's a system. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta at one point, what Kagon was saying here, he had given up and said, oh, let's allow Mudavadi to be. Who are these guys who had that power, right, to convince Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, you know what, step aside, allow somebody else to be in power. So it means it is not him. They are these guys who are behind the scenes.
Okay.
But do we know them? Maybe you don't know.
But William Ruto has been
Okay.
with these
Okay.
people.
That's the mystery. That's the mystery, JJ.
That we are talking about-
That's the mystery.
we are
That's the
talking about
mystery.
this last-
That's the mystery
No,
I'm
no,
talking.
saying-
That's the mystery.
Come on.
Kagoni, just
Hold
one
on a
minute.
minute.
Kagoni.
Kamau,
Just 1 minute.
I will
Kagoni
moderate
has
the
given
show.
me that
You will
chance.
listen.
Okay.
This
No.
is Kagoni's turn. I will
Okay,
give
Kagoni.
you your turn.
That's the mystery. You know, I was very hopeful that I'm going to hear both from Kamau and Kamunya. Them
No, you tell us what you know.
them
Don't go with the
them
point.
say
Just say what
XYZ
get for you.
is actually XYZ is deep state. Kagoni is deep state. Mine is deep state. I was actually waiting for that, and I'm trying to assist them to get from that illusion of
Kagoni,
there is an
we are living.
imagined-
No.
there is an imagined. Let me
You
assist
Let
you.
me cut you
Just
short.
say what
Let me
you
cut
know.
short.
Don't
Let
say
me
what
cut-
you
hold on a
think.
minute.
We have an illusion.
Hold on a minute. Let me cut you short, Kagoni. Because you've contradicted yourself now.
Yes, you are.
Because you have said
We say-
you started by confirming to us it's actually a system. It's actually a deep
deeper
state.
system.
And then you're telling us now it's an illusion.
It's an illusion. Let me tell you. This is
Talk about the illusion
get it,
you
and
know,
get
but
it.
not what
and
is
I'm
coming
worried
from
when
this side or the other
and I'm worried when even the host is getting the illusion as well.
Yes.
This is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
The point is, it is possible to know there is something called a phone, but to refer to a TV as the phone.
Kagoni, you're contradicting us.
Get your
Can I make this point that it is possible to refer to one thing using the wrong name. What I'm trying to say, the real deep state and system is basically the randers and the levels of government, the provincial administrations, and what have
So
you.
it does exist.
It does exist.
Can I finish before you lose me? The point is, and that are systems that exist, and we can be able to say person A and B who is holding office that.
Mention them.
Like for instance, you can say the whole of interior,
Yes.
the whole of the Ministry of Interior is actually part of the system that runs the country. But that not to say, and that's what I'm trying to clarify, that is not to say there is a monster that you cannot really refer to.
Say
that is
the
called
angel
deep
called
state.
system.
Okay, so when we are talking that William Ruto is being frustrated in government, we are saying that William Ruto is being frustrated by the likes of Matiang'i, the likes of Kefisho.
Now you're making people think of fight.
No, hold on a minute.
The likes of Kefisho, the likes of the provincial administration, name them. Those are the people who are
The ranks
frustrated.
and
And who is
The
more
ranks
powerful
and
than them?
commanders, and most of them are in the interior ministry,
What
so
would
to
you
speak.
call them? Because
What do you call them,
you
Kagoni?
taking-
However, and this is the point of departure, it is totally different. It is totally different from the perception that has been instilled, like there is a monster. And get me clearly, JJ, like there is a monster that you cannot even tell exactly who this is. That exists, that is called
Let me
Adib.
ask you a more direct question. You referred to the case where President Uhuru Kenyatta was actually moving out of a contest in
Yes,
2013,
yes,
and then he makes an overnight decision.
yes.
Who are these that were prevailing on him
Exactly.
not to vie, and then all of a
Mentioned
sudden
by them.
he makes an
By
overnight
name.
decision,
By name.
and
The people who are advising the president and telling him that you cannot even vie, you have a baggage of ICC and what have you, were actually the guys who are operating in State House then, the State House controller by then, the PA to the president
Nick Wajohi?
Nick Wajohi.
Okay.
These were the people who are telling him so. The chief of staff by then, okay, the people who are heading the public service by then, these were the people that were actually telling him it is not possible for you to become a president in such a time. Those are people we can name. It is not a monster. Those are people that we can name.
Okay.
And if we are talking of deep state, then those ones becomes the deep state. And what I'm trying to say, and this is where I started, they are not as powerful
Let's say this. That is the point.
as it has been
somewhere
perceived.
They are
I
not-
wanted. You're
yes,
confirming
they
this
are not.
deep state,
But they are
and there's
not
also
powerful.
system.
I'm
What-
redefining
according
who
to
is
you-
deep state.
But according to you,
Yes.
they're not as powerful as to influence the
They are
outcome
people.
of an election.
Yes.
That is what,
Now, Kagoni.
that is what you simply say.
Now let me join
Make
you.
your point.
Let me. I won't take even long. I'll tell you this one thing. Can you quantify your network?
What do you mean?
Can you tell my
terms of
network
money
is
or
this
what?
worth or
In terms
what,
of
whatever?
In terms of what?
Let me tell you, politics is done every day, and it concerns people, and they are the one who call this and that and that. Let me tell you, if you've not done good network with the people you've been around for a long time, and they don't like you, they don't just like you. If they don't like you, you've been with them for
Oh, now
30
we're going
years.
to reduce
then
government into
can
a
I-
love affair?
Can I?
Okay.
Can I? Those people who work in the government, those people who funds politics, those people who even own things around ourselves, you've been with them, you've not concentrated, they are not even your friends, and you want them to support you. Now you're starting to cry, do their system, their what? Because you've not made yourself a good friend to them. And that is wasteful.
Okay.
You've wasted your 30 years in the government, and now you want to rule over people who don't know you and they are not your friends. Simple.
As we wind up, and probably maybe this was the point that Kagoni was making, isn't it too dangerous that we are now sitting here confirming to the country that maybe we are dancers in a contest where somebody else is playing the drums and determining who wins in the dance contest, that we're just puppets somewhere. Kamau actually appears to say that we are actually pawns in a game of chess
That has to be me.
where interests supersede the interests of the country.
I know.
Yeah?
So it has to become
You're the one who said that.
No, me, I'm talking about my
Minor.
network.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
So, would agree with you.
Yeah.
Maybe from experience you have in the government,
Yes.
he's just confirming to us
Yes.
that maybe we vote,
Yes.
but our vote does not count. Right? Maybe we are just because as a matter of practice, you go, you vote, but whoever becomes the president is more than we can see. And for sure we can confirm that interest supersedes, personal interest supersedes the interest of the country. And it will be very much unfortunate to ensure that we invest so much in our electoral processes, we do campaigns, all those things, but it's a waste of time. But I would be worried by the trend that the DP is taking for a moment. Because if it happens that maybe what he's saying comes to be true, because I've heard some people argue that maybe what he's saying is preparing his supporters that in case he does not win the election to come 2022,
Yes.
they will have a
He's
reason,
preparing them to reject
they
the
will have a
outcome.
reason
Okay.
to reject, maybe do demonstrations, violence, all those things. But can I ask ourselves a question? Is DP ready enough to ensure that to take the country that kind of violence, knowing where they have come from?
Okay.
They have been the Hague, yes?
Yes.
Can he repeat the same mistakes? I don't the same.
All right.
So I would say this, I would say this, maybe DP knows more than we know.
All right.
Right? He understands the system more than we do.
Okay.
So the system again.
Yes.
Yes, and he knows the power they have. So he's just preparing himself. Maybe if I win, it's okay. If I don't win, maybe my supporters will have something to go to the street to demonstrate on. But I doubt that
He's prepared. He's not prepared.
All
he's
right.
prepared.
He's,
All right. I want us to wind up. Clearly, we have had a conversation. This was not even about even a Ruto presidency. Maybe we would have gone into details about what a Ruto presidency would mean and the advancements that are being made towards his candidature. But clearly, deep state system, it exists. It doesn't exist. It's not as powerful. Well, that's the good thing about opinions that are as wide. Thank you very much, Maina Kamunya. Thank you very much, Jimmy Kagoni, and thank you very much, Kamau Kamau,
and
for being with us tonight. And I want to thank the technical
but
team.
you could have erased that we are pawns in this game. The Bible says, and you allow me, your friend and your father's friends keep close.
Amen. That's how we wind up today for Dialogues. Thanks, everybody. Particularly led by our producer, Mwagi Boga. See you next time. God bless you. Have a good night.